All right, I am joined by Cody, the mobile home king of the West. No, the
The
Midwest.
Midwest.
I've got a buddy. He calls himself the mother blanker of mobile homes. I'm like,
Yeah, Corey.
that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, dude, Corey's a monster, man.
Yeah, no,
Like
for sure.
those guys. I swear to God, he's gonna own probably 10-15% of Texas. Just at the pace they're going, it's nuts. They're doing closings like every other day.
I've got my money on you, dude.
Yeah, hopefully.
Well, hey man, thanks for taking a minute. I know you're busy, as am I. I really just wanted people to kind of hear your story. So I like to kind of start off with, why real estate? What were you running from? You're a young guy. You could have done anything that you wanted to. Why pursue real estate, man?
So I was selling cars. I was selling Fords for about 2 years total, but I was about a year in. And if you know anyone who's ever been in car sales or like sales gigs in general, dude, I was working 60-hour weeks were minimum. So and to make any decent money, you're kicking out 60-hour weeks. And so it got to the point where like the I was making decent money. I was making more than I would with my degree. I had no time, and so I was tired. I felt like shit all the time. Like, and I had no energy to like go out and do anything. So I started looking at other options. I started basically added a delivery service to a medical marijuana dispensary when I was living in California. So I add the delivery aspect to that, thinking, oh, okay, this will like give me the freedom to like, I'll be my own boss, blah blah blah. Same thing. I was banging out 60-hour weeks. When you're managing stoners that work for you, it turns out they're not like they're not reliable. They're not they're not like grade A employees.
What
So it's
what what a concept, right?
yeah, that's one of those things in hindsight. I'm like, I'm stupid. I don't know why I thought this would go well. It was like herding cats. Um, so I was doing. I got that up and running. That was going really well. But that I was making good money, and the business is a very cash heavy business. Just because how the industry was in like 2017, 2016, 2017. And then I just started going to meetups. I started talking with real estate people. I got pitched on a bunch of education. But a bunch of those groups were there. But then like that, there's a couple guys in there that are like, hey, listen, like this is what I've done and it's worked really well. You might want to look into this. And so initially I was actually looking for apartments. Just like everyone else. He's like, hey, find some apartments, and if you bring it to me, I'll let you stay in the deal. Okay, cool. It's perfect. And so like I went like 4 or 5 months, and I didn't find anything. I was cold calling. I did a little bit of mailing, stuff like that. And I'm talking to a dude on the phone one day, and he's like, yeah, I have apartments, but I'm not looking to sell that, but I have a small trailer park. And I was like, oh, cool. And I was like, tell me about that. And like we went over it, and instead of like apartments, it being like a 10, 11 cap, he's like, the financials turned out that this thing was it was like almost a 20 cap, and there was rent raises there. And so I was like, oh yeah, definitely, I'd definitely rather take that thing. And so basically, and I don't recommend this. I maxed out 2 cards, 2 credit cards at a real nasty 18% interest. But it was 0% for the first 12 months. And so basically I was still running the delivery service, and I got into my first park with cash that I had saved, maxing out 2 cards, and basically just using the cash flow from that to pay everything back.
How many units was that one?
That was 22.
22. Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, little. It was gross, man. I wouldn't do that again. It was down in Mobile, Alabama.
Yeah.
It was decent homes, but it was not on the right side of Mobile. And again, it's one of those things where in hindsight you learn, hey, pay a little extra, and you're better off. The headaches that you pay for aren't worth it.
No, for sure, man. So you were doing car sales and the delivery business, heard about real estate, tried a little bit with apartments, and then kind of stumbled upon this mobile home park.
Uh-huh.
So let's fast forward. So you close on that deal, max out a couple credit cards. From that point, fast forward a little bit there. You kind of said, "Hey, this is a niche that might be interesting to me," and you started pursuing that rather.
Right. So I went out and I paid for what was it called? Mobile Home University.
Mhm.
And because I went in this thing pretty much completely blind, just off like the numbers and kind of what the guy told me, which again, like dumb things in hindsight. But yeah, I went and I took the Mobile Home University, and it was one of those where like I realized I had gotten into something, and I didn't realize the value that was there until I really started to dig in.
Mhm.
So it's one of those where I'm like, dude, if I can have this thing at like a 20 cap, and the downside is mobile home parks hardly appreciate. Really, the only time they appreciate is population. So like if you're in a growing city, then it's just population based growth. Or if you go in and you add new homes, which again, you can do and you can make some money. Um, but the big thing is I realized that when I was calling these mobile home park owners, they might get 3 calls a month about the parks. Where like anyone who's in commercial or single family, they get straight up hounded. That
Oh yeah.
they're getting fucking 10 calls a day, like it's ridiculous. So there's a book called Blue Ocean Strategy that talks about, hey, you don't want to be where everyone else is. You want to you want completely blue waters. That way you don't really have to compete. And that's something that like I know you preach a lot, like in your negotiations, is you don't compete. And I don't compete on mobile home parks. I put in offers. It's like, hey man, listen, like this is where I'm at. If it works for you, great. If not, totally fine. And the advantage to mobile home parks is that there's so much blue ocean there. Like there's 14,000 parks in the U.S. and about 10,000 of those are above 30 units.
Mhm.
So, that there's 10,000 parks. I think like only 2,000 or 2,500 trade every year.
Right. Well, and a lot of people don't realize that there's a lot of counties and states that will not allow people to build new ones.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like
Yep.
a single family or a multifamily property where, somebody can buy a plot of land and put up
Mm-hmm.
50 new houses with mobile home courts and parks. Like that's just not a thing.
Right.
It really is a very limited gig.
Yeah. No, and I'm actually glad you brought that up. So, I think it's 14% of parks are or closed or like just get ran into the dirt, and only 4% a year are being built. So
Mhm.
every year there's 10% less parks on the market, which when you're looking at the scale of like affordable housing, it's huge.
Well, let's talk about that for a second before my next question.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, like, I'm going to use my market for an example, just because you think about your market. In my market, like a quote unquote a cheap single family could be 70 to 130,000, right? And
Okay.
we're talking like they need work, like maybe like a 2 bed, 1 bath, maybe 1,000 square foot. They need a lot of work.
Okay.
In my same market, a nice mobile home, quote unquote, nice mobile home,
Mm-hmm.
that's like 1999 and up, you know, 20 grand. And we're
Yeah.
talking brand new flooring, new roof, new siding, new windows, 3 bed, 2 bath, uh,
Mm-hmm.
1,200 square foot. They come with a nice yard, they're fenced. So you just said affordable housing. A lot of people think that mobile homes are like redneck trash, etc. Dude, I've seen some super nice, like we went and looked at one last week. It had the quartz countertops. I'm like, I don't even have quartz countertops in my house, dude.
Right. Trailer chic.
So I mean, these things, yeah, sure. Like the older ones, might not be as appealing to investors, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just cash flow, dude. And like you said,
Yeah.
the cap rates, the cash on cash ROIs on these is through the roof, and they actually are pretty nice homes for people that are looking. Maybe they can't afford $100,000 house, but they could probably come up with $5,000 down on a 30,000.
Right. Yeah, and that's I'm glad you touched on that. So we can go to auction and we can get a home for $3,000. Like let's say a good 90s, early 2000s home. We throw 4 to 5 into it, so now we're into it 8, and then it's $2,000 to move it. So we're all in this house 10. Our whole goal with mobile homes, we don't care about the income from the home. We only value on lot rent, which I'm sure is pretty common in the space. But when going back to like having a nice mobile home, when you give someone a nice house for let's say we have 10 into it, we sell it for 15, and we give them $2,000 down, and they got a nicer place than anywhere else. Altogether, their payment might be $450 a month, but between like a 300 lot rent and 150 for the house. Dude, that in the markets that we go to, that's still $300 a month cheaper than a apartment that wouldn't be as nice. So now they own the house, and once the house is paid off, their lot rents are, if let's say they're in 450, their lot rents are probably only going to be about, counting in rent raises, would be about 350, 400 after the house is paid off. So they have a nice house, a nice double wide with quartz countertops and like a nicer house than most people have for $400 a month.
For sure, man. And I mean, like my market's pretty small. I'm out in the middle of nowhere in Montana. There's more teepees than houses. I'm joking, but I mean, like there's been mobile homes that we've bought here for $4,000, and we've rented them for $800.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like the cash on cash ROI is through the roof, and you're like, well, a single family house again that would be 100,000 to 130, 130,000. It's just not comparable. So how long have you been doing this? A couple years?
Coming up on 3, and no, up over 3. So it's July. We got our first deal contract in July. So 3 and some change.
Okay. So I heard a little bit about, why real estate, how you kind of started and how you kind of found the niche. Where are you at right now? Like how many units are you guys going after? I know you've got a couple that are in the pipeline that are pretty big as well.
Yeah. So right now I have 80 of my own, which is 2 parks. One in right outside of Indy, and then one kind of by Murfreesboro.
Mm-hmm.
I have. Well, let's preface this. So I've mostly been wholesaling the last 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
with most of my traction coming in the last 3-4 months. So I've been kicking out about a deal a month right now. I'm changing up all my marketing and stuff, so hopefully that those numbers will go up a little bit. But right now I got 800-ish units in the pipeline, to which I would keep about 20%, because I just instead of taking a wholesale fee, I would sell them off to either the syndication that I work with or a partner who I buy with.
So I mean, dude, that's massive volume,
Yeah. Well, I talked about when I had my call with is it Ralph or Ralph? Yeah, Ralph.
Ralph.
Man, I'm banging out 200-300 phone calls a day. Pretty much 5-6 days a week, and that's something where I really value starting in car sales, because like I'm not afraid to like get into that just dirty, gritty, where your fingers hurt because you're banging on the phone for hours.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I really value that, because like I learned in car sales, we had a guy who like was not a good salesperson, and like he's not really charismatic, that didn't really have that like aspect, and he used to still kick out a decent amount of cars because he put in the work.
Oh, sure.
And that's just what it comes down to for me. I know I don't need to be the best, I just need to be the most.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of people are not going to do that. I, for one, dude, I am not a fan of phone calls, So, I mean, like it's all relative, right? Like you not only found a niche within real estate, you found a niche within marketing that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, with your background in car sales has been effective for you. And that's working that most people aren't going to do. That's a winning combination, man.
Yeah, and it's funny because like I've went to I'm right outside of Milwaukee, so I've went to a couple like real estate meetups in Milwaukee, and where people talk about like avenues that are working. I'm like, yeah, I just cold call, and everyone's like, what the hell, this guy cold calls? They're like,
It's
does
for
that
you.
work? I was like, it does for me. I don't know, and like it really seems like everyone I've talked to does the um they do mailers and bandit signs, and I know you've yelled at me about the bandit sign idea because I still like it, but it it's funny that people have that apprehension. It's like, dude, get over that fear. Like, yeah, it sucks. You're gonna be awkward. You know that's fine if you're awkward as hell. Like, eventually that goes away, and then you're one of the only people that are cold calling. So again, you're back into a blue ocean.
It goes back to, I mean, like if somebody was to call me, right, and dude, like their pitch is like on point, they're super
Mm-hmm.
professional, versus somebody that maybe they're stuttering a little bit and they're, you know, maybe a little bit more authentic. I'm probably going to go with the authentic guy, you know, like I
Mm-hmm.
might feel like I'm getting pitched on the guy that's like super polished. So it's not a negative thing if, you know, for anybody that's going to watch this in the replay, if you want to do cold calling, it's not a negative if like you're not the
Mm-mm.
most polished dude, because people work with people, right? People want to be relatable with people. Actually, I use the car salesman example all the time. Like, so I went and bought a new truck like a month ago, 2 months ago, which
Nice.
my wife hates me for it. I have a truck problem apparently, which is better than having a drug problem.
It's
It's a little bit more
cost.
expensive,
I was gonna say it costs about the same.
but I went to 3 different dealerships and that all had the same truck.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought the truck from the guy that I wanted to work with, that I related with, that was, you know, pretty down to earth. He was pretty open and honest with me. Like, he wasn't trying to BS me. He wasn't trying to inflate a price but tell me it wasn't. You see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
so for anybody that watches this replay, like, be you and be authentic, and like, don't try to BS people, you know? Like,
Yeah.
nobody likes a slimy
Mm-hmm.
salesperson.
Yeah, and that authenticity versus the guy who's super polished. Um, if someone called me, I would assume the guy that is super polished is just gonna rip my eyes out on the deal. Where someone's like, hey man, listen, like this is what I'm doing. If you're interested, let me know. Like, and it comes off as this is just a guy like trying to grow his business versus, you know, this is whatever, America Home Buyers, or like one of those big corporations. I would rather do business with the guy that might be a little awkward and he might be kind of a weirdo, but he comes off as much more genuine and he's just trying to make his life a little better.
For sure. So just to recap kind of about where you're at right now, I've got about 80 that you have currently shooting for about a wholesale a month, about 800 in the pipeline, and your goal is to keep about 20% of those. Or that's kind of how it's equated now.
Mm-hmm.
So big picture here, man. A year down the road, you know, where is this all going? Are you going to be the guy that's, and I know you better than this. You're not going to be the guy that's calling people all day, every day, 300. Like, you're going to
Mm-hmm.
eventually build this up, right? Where do you
Yes.
want to be? Where do you want to be? What's the big picture for you?
So actually, like right now this week, I'm setting up all my marketing with it's called Go High Level.
Hmm.
Have you heard of it?
Recently, yeah, like
Okay.
2 weeks ago.
I was gonna say I think it's a new software, but basically that it's like it's like Hootsuite where that's like the hub of all your marketing, and so I'm setting that up. I had a VA for a little bit. She just, you know, it's just hard. You know, it's easier if I can be higher level without having to manage somebody. So I'm setting up all my marketing. Ideally, you know, probably by the end of this year, I think I'm really going to cut back on cold calling because I would like to have all my marketing set up to where I'm only calling warm leads because I feel like I spend a lot of time. You know, I probably call 4-ish hours.
Yep.
I feel like I spend a lot of time just listening to the phone ring. Um, so I feel like having warm leads coming in and having people who are kind of qualifying to me is going to be a better approach to do so.
Yeah,
Um,
you need we call it a setter. So the setter is the first person that talks on the phone with these people.
Mm-hmm.
And the setter, all they're trying to do is gather some basic information, see if the person's motivated or not. And if they are, they're booking that call for you, right?
Got it.
So like I'll give you like with Axiom, rather than talking to 300 people in a month, we have a setter that talks to them first. And then if they're qualified, if we feel like it's a good fit, they're just logging into my calendar and booking, hey, Jordan's got an appointment open tomorrow at 2:00. Does that work for you? So I'm only talking to people that are qualified, that want to, that want to do this and that. But same concept with real estate, man. The setter is not the closer. That becomes like your job or someone else's job as the closer if it's a good lead. But and because the setter isn't really closing deals, like you're not paying them this astronomical amount of money.
Yeah.
So that's cool, man. But you want to stay in the mobile home niche?
Yeah. Yes. So the big thing that I've struggled with in the last couple months is just building out systems, because I've always done everything just kind of solo.
Yep.
But having finite time, and it's there comes that tipping point where I'm like, okay, I need to figure this out. So I would like to stay in the mobile home space. The other aspect is I'm really hoping we kind of have a kind of nasty housing bubble coming up.
Yeah.
And because I'll go out and because I've been doing decent wholesaling, I'll go out and I'll buy something in California at the very bottom. Just because mobile homes don't appreciate, and I know at the end of this year I'm gonna have to write a check to the government, which is gonna hurt my soul.
Yeah. No, that's never a good day. But for sure, man, like on the appreciation side, that'll definitely help with taxes.
Yeah, and that's kind of my thought.
But again, like me owning a $1 million apartment building that I can depreciate versus a $5,000 mobile home, it's different, right?
Yeah.
But the cash flow is also different.
Yeah. Yep.
Sorry, man. I know you're a busy dude. I've got one more question for you. So people are going to watch this, like, and again, like the entire point of doing the like interview series with people that are closing deals is to encourage people, to let them know, like, hey, there's real people, like me and like you, that are closing deals, and it's not just these massive gurus that close all the deals. Like there's a lot of normal people. What would you say to somebody that's, considering joining the kingdom, getting involved in this stuff? You've been with us for almost a year now, right?
Think about February. I don't know. Yeah, almost a year.
Okay.
8 months, 10 months.
What would you say to somebody considering the kingdom and joining us and getting started, whether it's with mobile homes or wholesaling or multifamily, single family?
I've always been a big advocate of finding somebody smarter than you. Whatever aspect that is in your life, whether you want to get fit in the gym or you're trying to, master like your inner self, whatever that is, find a trainer, read some books. But basically the underlying thing is find someone who's doing it at a place that you want to be in 10 years. So it just comes down to mentorship, and I know that's a kind of a gross, slimy word in the industry.
Yeah.
But just find someone who's actually doing it, and the big thing is, like, go out and see if you can work for them for free, even if it's shitty, even if it's, just a few hours a week, and you can like learn some stuff and get actual hands-on experience. That if I could go back, that's what I would have done initially. I would have just found like a big syndication group and, started working for them for free, taking everything. But that's in hindsight, and it comes down to the same principles. Find someone who's doing it, find someone who's doing it really well, and just latch onto them. Take in everything that they absorb and learn from one person. Because I see it all the time, dude. I see it in I see it in this group. I've turned off my notifications for wholesaling houses full time
Yep.
and a bunch of the other groups because people will ask the same question in like 100 different ways, and it's because they don't have laser focus.
Right.
And that's what it comes down to for me is, you know, find a good mentor, which there's a handful of people in the kingdom that, you know, people are doing different niches. Like, you know, you're doing mostly buy and hold. You know, Todd's mostly doing wholesale, and then you know, keeping houses. But you know, just find a good mentor. That's all it comes down to.
Yeah.
Find someone who's doing it and is doing it big.
And to your point, I mean, there are a lot of free groups that, you know, I see some, not all of them, not all the time, but I see a lot of blind leading the blind.
Mm-hmm.
Like you get 10 people that are very, very vocal asking questions. You get 10 people that are very, very vocal in answering questions. Well, neither of them have done a deal.
Yeah.
And you're like, and they're like, oh man, thank you so much. I'm going to go do that right now. And it's like, well, what? You know, and to your point, you know, with what we've tried to do is like, you know, if people are interested in mobile homes, have them
I'm
talk
here.
to you.
Yeah.
You know, we've got people that, you know, that are doing very, very well in Airbnb. You know, we've got people
Mhm.
that, you know, syndicate and raise millions of dollars. We've got people that wholesale and buy and hold. You know, we've got fix and flip. We've got, you know, people doing $1 billion at a time in the note space. So for sure, man. I mean, like when, and to your point of like find somebody and like see what they need, that's 100% what I did, man. My first mentor here in Montana, now granted, you know, like I paid him quite a bit of money, but he was like, hey man, you're going to go clear out that garage. I'm like, no, dude, I paid you to teach me how to do real estate. He's like, I am. He's like, this is what we're doing on this project, and here's why, and here's what we're going to make on it. Okay.
Wax off, son.
Well, 100%. You know, then it was like, you know, some of the phone calls and some of the marketing, et cetera. But like, I really got to understand, you know, what were the different components that had made, you know, this guy successful.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, to your point, just duplicate that. You know,
Yeah.
don't get distracted by 50 different strategies. Find somebody doing what you want to do, and we've got tons of them in the kingdom. And then just, you know, follow them and listen to what they say and how they do deals and how they market, etc. So.
Yep. Yeah. No. There's a great expression there. Like it's don't if you own a restaurant, don't hire a skinny chef.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's perfect.
I actually haven't heard that one before. I like that.
That's good.
Well, hey man, again, I greatly appreciate it. I think your story is really, really cool. How old are you, man? Like you're pretty young, aren't you?
26.
26. I've got you beat just by a little bit.
That's it. See, I'm trying to like, I think we have different ambitions though. Like, I would like to, I want to be pretty much done by 30.
Yeah.
You know, and whatever. My big thing is like, you know, you always, again, going into like sleazy words, you go into like people that are like, you know, my mission or my whatever. I don't know what that is, but I know having a bunch of money down the road will help whatever that is.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, that real estate was just a big end all for me. You know, I know.
You freaking capitalist.
I know I'm not real popular in the college demographic.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't go to like a Bernie Sanders convention or anything like that. Like,
yeah, no,
probably keep that on wraps.
Yeah, that's on the deal.
Dude, I mean, like so many people are afraid to say money will solve a lot of problems. And
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't care who you are, you know, and beyond that, I don't care what you want to do, you know, like even if you're not passionate about real estate and you want to go build an orphanage, money will allow you to do that. You know, you want to go find the cure for cancer, money will allow you to do that. So
yeah,
I couldn't agree more. Again, man, thank you so much. Appreciate your time, and
sure, bro.
Looking forward to seeing what you do in the future, man.
All right, my man. Talk to you later.